Hello and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to look at company-sponsored retirement plans, 401k and the Roth 401k. And you may work for a company that offers you both. You could contribute to a Roth 401k or a traditional 401k or a combination of both. But biggest difference, by far the biggest difference, is in the tax treatment of the two. So traditional 401k is tax-free. You're contributing pre-tax dollars. When you do retire, though, you will have to pay taxes on the money you withdraw. Roth 401k, on the other hand, is after-tax contributions when you retire. Although, then the best thing about a Roth 401k is you do not have to pay taxes. So we're going to look at a calculator and go through the numbers and make some changes and see financially which one is better. But first, before we go on, hit the subscribe button, the like button, and send me your comments also. I want to hear from you. So the first thing we have to do when we look at our model is understand that a investment in a 401k and a Roth 401k is not the same. They can be, but to maximize your benefit in a 401k, we also have to take the tax savings and invest that also. So I'm making up some numbers for a traditional 401k and a Roth, just assuming we have $100,000 in adjusted gross income and we fall in the 24% tax bracket. So when we contribute $3,000 to a Roth 401k, that is not the same as contributing $3,000 to a traditional 401k because of the tax savings. That's your benefit initially, and you take that tax savings, 24% of $3,000 or $720, and you invest the tax saving into the 401k retirement account also. That's the benefit. And that additional amount, that a tax savings every year of $720 will grow at a compound interest rate. And that is the real benefit of a traditional 401k. You're contributing more dollars and it is growing. Roth 401k, on the other hand, so a $3,000 contribution, that's after tax dollars. You paid the taxes, and all it is a $3,000 contribution every year, and that's going to grow too also. So the biggest benefit, if we look at that, is Roth 401k. You really don't have to be a disciplined investor for a traditional 401k. You have to understand the tax savings and invest the tax savings every year. If you're not going to do that, then it doesn't even make sense to consider the traditional 401k. If you're just going to invest $3,000 in either one, then by far the Roth 401k will be your better choice. So to maximize your benefit in traditional 401k, you have to be disciplined, you have to understand the tax savings, and you have to invest those tax savings along with it. And that results in a higher total contribution for the 401k. And that's the main benefit right now, is that higher contribution is going to grow over 25, 30, 35 years. Now let's go to our calculator and take a look at some of the numbers. This is a calculator I got off the web to go through some of the numbers, and these are all hypotheticals. We could change any of these variables, but just let's say we're at 30 years of age. We're going to retire at 65, so we're going to put in $3,000 a year in the Roth 401k and the traditional 401k. So this box here, it's checked. That means that any tax savings from the traditional 401k will also be invested also. So if we look at our investment return and taxes, these are assumptions. We can change these also. If we look at, or assuming that we earn 7% a year on our investment, our current tax rate is 24%, and then when we retire, we're assuming we're going to pay 12% in taxes on the traditional 401k, and then of course on the Roth 401k you do not pay taxes. So we can change these numbers around and come up with different results, and we're going to do that, but I'm just taking these numbers here to start out first, showing you that at the end of 35 years of investing that and investing your tax savings, that a traditional, right here, traditional plus tax savings comes out higher. It's at $450,000 versus the Roth 401k, which is at slightly more than $430,000. So if we look at the report, generate the report, and go look at some of the numbers on the traditional 401k and the Roth 401k, total contributions in each was $105,000 over 35 years. Total before taxes, we earned 7% every year, and we generated $430,273 in the traditional and $430,273. Now here's the benefit of the 401k, the traditional 401k. the value of the invested tax savings was $71,496, and of course, we have to pay taxes. So the amount of taxes we have to pay on that is $51,633. So if we add these up, at age 65, the value of that traditional 401k is slightly more than $450. Roth 401k, on the other hand, there is no invested tax savings and there's no taxes at retirement. So your growth for 35 years, $3,000, 7% is $430,000 or slightly more. So the traditional 401k in this example, slightly better than the Roth, but we're going to go back and change some of the numbers and see if we can get it to reverse. So let's look at some changes to some of our assumptions. So we assumed we're earning 7% a year. We assumed our current tax rate is 12%. And then at retirement, we're going to have to pay 12% in taxes in the traditional 401k. But if we look at tax bracket, these are federal tax brackets. And if your adjusted gross income is $40,125 or less than that, slightly less than that, then your tax rate is really not 24%, it's going to be 12%. So if we change that model right here to our current tax rate from 24 to 12%, let's see what happens. So in this case, if we look at the numbers, the Roth 401k comes out better than the traditional. So in this case, if you are in a lower tax bracket, 12% versus 24%, you are better off with the Roth 401k. Roth 401k ends up having a value of slightly more than $430,000 versus the traditional $421,000 or slightly more than $421,000. But what if you're a high income earner and you actually fall into this tax bracket, which is the 32% tax bracket? So let's take a look at that. So if our current tax bracket is 32% instead of 12%, of course that makes the traditional 401k even better yet. That gap grows quite a bit. Traditional 401k is worth slightly more than $463,000, and the Roth 401k is $430,000. So let's go back to our original assumption at 24%. And some of the research I did, I found some data that, and this is big, 80% of people that retire don't pay any taxes at all. So they pay zero in taxes. So if we change our retirement tax rate from 12 to 0% and look at the numbers then the traditional Roth or the traditional 401k is even better yet, slightly more or more than $501,000, where the Roth is $430,000. So a lot of these returns, they matter on our assumptions. At our current tax rate, our retirement tax rate, what those are. So those are big deals. And one of the biggest arguments between the two is, we don't know what our retirement tax rate is going to be in 30, 35 years. So let's even rule that out. Let's pay the taxes now and not worry about paying taxes then. Going back to our original assumptions at 12% retirement tax, 24% current tax, traditional 401k ends up better. We assume we're going to earn an expected rate of return of 7%. But what if you're really good? What if you're really good in the markets and you think you can earn 15%? Let's change that. Let's take a look at what happens to the model. I'm going to change that to 15%. So when I do that, then the Roth 401k is better. It's $2.853 million, where the traditional 401k is $2.797 million. So a lot of things matter. Expected rate of return, current tax rate, retirement tax rate. Just look at the numbers. We could go either way, but go back into our original assumptions and say 7%. You're going to earn 7% a year. Let's just say, well, I'm not going to invest my tax savings. I'm just going to go ahead and spend that every year. So I can uncheck this right here, and then clearly the Roth 401k is better. Roth 401k is slightly more than $430,000. Traditional 401k is $378,000. So if you're not investing the tax savings generated into the traditional 401k, there's no sense of even looking at that route. Invest everything in the Roth 401k. Okay, let's go to the Dave Ramsey Show. This is actually Chris Hogan on the Dave Ramsey Show. He talks about choosing between the two, traditional 401k and Roth. Chris Hogan says he would go with the Roth 401k every time. For one, and he lays out a couple of reasons. One, you don't know what your tax brackets or tax percentages will change in the future. It could change. It could change quite a bit to the upside, so we don't really know that. So why take the risk? He doesn't want to take the risk. Plus, there's an emotional toll attached to it. It's just comforting to know that when you retire and you got a nest egg of money that you don't have to pay taxes on. That's comforting. So that's an emotional toll. So those are the biggest benefits of Roth, and they may work best for you for these two reasons. So again, to take advantage of the 401k, the traditional, you have to be disciplined and you have to make sure you're investing the tax savings. So you may not want to do that too. So Chris Hogan from the Dave Ramsey Show clearly says he's going with the 401k every time. So that's all I have on Roth 401k, traditional 401k. Please hit the subscribe button and send me your comments. I would love to hear from you. And thanks for listening, and have a good day, and we'll talk later.